Greetings to readers, viewers, and listeners, and welcome to this next edition of the annual Advent tradition known as the Advent Hope. As with all these videos, dear readers and viewers, I want to just dedicate these videos to the memory of the late great Joe Defino Sr., a wonderful friend and mentor that I hope I'm doing justice to by doing these videos. I'll have more to say on him in the next video, but I want to just touch on something that he really mentioned when it comes that it, I want to just highlight something that really struck me as I was reading the readings for the third Sunday in Advent about how generous he was. Joe Sr. was a generous man. He was generous with his time, generous with his prayers, especially when it came to the pro-life community. He was always someone that would he would always be there to help the little guy. He would always be there to help the champion. He would always treat everyone with respect, and he would always treat everyone as if they mattered. And it didn't matter whether or not it took 10 minutes or 2 hours. He would always make sure that people were there, and he would back it up with facts. I mean, Joe Sr., God rest his soul, was a very well learned man. He was very well read, very educated. But the one thing I want to highlight on is his generosity. Like, I remember one time being in it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas, when I was invited to his house for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and going into his house for the first time felt like I was going into the Vatican, like I was in hallowed ground. But it was more so when you consider how many people were there around the table, and how much his faith really helped out in other ways. I mean, there was more to share. I mean, he was a very prayerful individual, but he was also someone that was generous to people that really needed to pick me up. And one of the things I've noticed in my life too, especially with my autistic burnout, is that I want to be. I mean, I know that I can get by, but I know of so many less lucky than I, to coin a phrase from the Hunchback of Notre Dame's songs. God help the outcasts. And one of the things that I've done in my life is not just have a generous ear for other people, because I've had people in my own life tell me that they feel better when they talk to me. That they feel better when they talk to me and vent to me, because they look at me as someone that is generous with their time, but also someone who can listen really well, uh, autistic side or not. Um, but I've always done so in ways I don't really share. I mean, to be honest, but with this, it kind of fits in with the topic. One of the things that I do at my job is during 2 times a year, my job will always team up with the local radio station, and we'll always give people the stuff to trunk to kind of help out for the food pantries. And I always like to ask people to help out, and I always like to say if they're so inclined. I always like to make sure that's in there, but I also want to make sure that I'm a man of my word and that I lead by example, as a wonderful priest once mentioned to us. He always wanted to lead by example, and I'm the same way too. So what I decided to do, when I was off the clock, I decided to grab two packages of cereal and one oatmeal. I paid for it, of course, but I also gave it to the food pantry as a way of kind of practicing what I preached. I wouldn't be anyone to give to someone that I wouldn't be able to give to myself. And not it's not just generosity in the community, but it's also generosity to ourselves. Um, for myself, in particular, during my time of autistic burnout, I found myself trying to be generous to myself, to kind of be more graceful for myself, or to give myself grace when I need it. Because I always put myself in a very high pedestal, and I always put myself as being of high quality. And one of the things that this burnout's really taught me is, yes, I need to be gracious at my job. Yes, I need to be gracious in the community, but I also need to be gracious to myself. I always need to show that grace that I give to others to myself, which is the hardest thing I can do because I put a lot of pressure on myself, but that's on me. So for this Lenten season, just think about being generous not only to the community, if you have the ability, helping out at the local food pantries or donating your time, efforts, or talents any way you wish to help the community out, because it's always been a big thing for me. But also be generous with your time and be generous when it comes to graces to yourself. Know that you matter in times of great strife. And that's gonna do it for this video, dear readers and viewers and listeners. If you like these videos, please like, share, and subscribe. You can check me out here on YouTube on the Autistic Super channel. And you can check out you can check me out at X, Blue Sky, all that stuff. And you can check out all my videos on the autisticsuperblog.wordpress.com. Until next time, dear readers and viewers and listeners, stay safe, stay strong, and as always, shine on.